Francesca, you brought up the idea that maybe you're gonna try and get pregnant to get some of that child
Sweet, yeah.
tax,
Yes.
refundable
That's
tax
a good
credit.
investment, by the way, right?
I wish Rush were still alive. You know what I'm saying? Pour one out. So he could just have me on and say, this woman, she's hawking her eggs to the highest bid. I don't know I forgot what he sounds like, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Kind of made him sound like LBJ or something.
you could also maybe go on Ben Shapiro, who predicted folks like you would be doing stuff like this. Yes, here he is.
But Nancy Pelosi is super happy about this. Here's Nancy Pelosi yesterday saying this is the most consequential legislation of our lifetime. She is not wrong about this, by the way. Okay, this is very consequential legislation. It sets up brand new entitlement programs that, quote unquote, only last a year, but are designed to last far longer. It creates essentially incentives, the old welfare incentives, to have kids out of wedlock because, again, you get paid by the government to have kids. Not only do you get paid by the government to have kids, there are no restrictions with regard to having a job or not having a job. There are no work requirements.
Yes.
There's nothing that encourages marriage anywhere in there. Not only that, again, this is a giant bailout for states that have blown out their own pocketbooks. It is a bonanza used car sales lemon. That's all this thing is. Here's Nancy Pelosi calling it the most consequential legislation of our lifetime.
Can we pause it for 1 second? Wait. It's a bonanza used car lemon.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that? Anybody have an idea what that means?
Seoul is so stuck in like 1958. There's calling cars lemons in that way. I mean, and bonanza.
Yeah, it's a lemon, I tell you. It's
did people even know what the bonanza farms were? It was like these giant farms that like they started using big industrial sort of tractors and stuff within the 19th century.
He's like
that's the reference.
He's like the kid from Orphan. That movie is the horror movie. But he's 242 in that, childlike physique.
I know all the words. I mean, I know what bonanza refers to, and I know what used car and what lemon means. But I don't get it. It is there's going to be tons of bad used cars. I don't even get what his metaphor is. I mean, I think he's right about his assessment, and I hope he's right that this ends up being, an ongoing support structure for families and for children. I guess there may be people out there who say, like, hey, it's worth $3,600 a year to have children. That would be insane. But having had two, it's
there's going to be probably more costs than $3,600, but who's thought that far ahead? Obviously, the right is totally bad faith about they don't want you to have kids. They want you to have kids if you're pregnant, right? So anti-abortion, as Ben Shapiro is, if you want to not have a kid, then you're just a selfish woman who wants control of her own body. And then if you actually want to have a kid and be supported by the government at all, which I would argue should happen in the form of universal pre-K and other programs that are far more universal and lasting than tax credits, but hey, I'll take what I can get, then you're also selfish. It's almost like they're pro-patriarchy, almost.
These refundable tax credits are they go up to people up to $150,000 a year. I mean, this is going to hit a ton of people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I mean, it's about as close to a universal benefit as you want. I mean, I have no problem, giving it to everyone and then just clawing it back through higher tax rates. But let's hear. Does Shapiro go on here from here?
Have been on the way in, I don't know, August. Okay, the reality is that there were COVID relief packages passed all the way up in bipartisan fashion during the Trump administration. This thing was passed along pure party lines. Why? Because the pandemic is basically over. Okay, the pandemic is done. Okay, and now we are spending $1.9 trillion, more money than has ever been seen by God or man. Spending money that has not yet been created. We're spending all of that money to do what? To do what? We are now actively encouraging people not to go back to work. We're providing enhanced unemployment incentives that go all the way until September. September. Are you insane? September? Again, we have the lowest rates of infection since the beginning of the pandemic. I would say at this point, most states are wide open for business. The unemployment rate in places that have remained wide open, like South Dakota, is like 3%. By the way, the national unemployment rate is 6.3%, which is not wonderful, but it's certainly not crisis levels. We're not talking about the 20% that we were at even a few months ago. Now is the time we need to spend $1.9 trillion on a bunch of nonsense. Now, naturally, this is popular. If you send people checks, that's popular. But over time, what's going to be shown is that it doesn't actually raise people out of poverty to just send them checks. That has never been a solution. The war on poverty tried this with...
Wait a second. There's just too many lies that are backing up. There are, we have had weekly new unemployment claims, nearly 800,000 people a week.
Yeah.
Second, there is an enormous amount of completely indisputable data that the first round of COVID relief in the CARES Act decreased poverty by like an extraordinary amount. I don't know what it was, like 50 or 60 or 70% or whatnot it is. This is going to reduce child poverty by nearly 50%. Here it is. Vast federal aid has capped rise in poverty, studies find. From the New York Times. I mean, it's all over the place. He's just the amount of lies. Should we let him keep going?
I just want to make this one point, though. Just the fact that he's obsessed with the government encouraging people to have babies. One, he said that the government doesn't encourage marriage, which is completely false. We've had the tax incentive for married couples for how long?
There's 1,400 rights that you get.
So that's ridiculous. And now there's these child tax credits, which decrease child poverty. And now he's lamenting that now they just want you to basically have extramarital sex and make babies. It's not about the institution of marriage. The right wing is so concerned, and I guarantee there's a Ben Shapiro segment on it, about how millennials and younger people aren't having kids at the right rate because they can't afford it. So which one is it, dude? Continue.
Absolutely.
Pop this back up.
$22 trillion worth of checks over the past several decades. It has not lowered the poverty rate in the United States. You can't just sign people checks and then hope that's going to cure poverty.
It does.
That is not how poverty gets cured.
Yes, it is.
There are steps to escape poverty, but those steps, generally speaking, are reliant on individual decision-making, like don't have kids out
But
of
we don't
wedlock,
actually
finish
ever
high
want
school,
them
and get a
out.
job. By the way, if you follow those steps, you will not spend your life in poverty.
Oh,
That's bullshit. What is that? Are you familiar with the steps to getting out of poverty? Matt Brunig's done a lot of work on this bull crap. I'll see if I can find. It's stuff like finish high school, and it's all stuff that is pretty easy to do with like a certain level of material comfort, and things that are harder to do when you lack that.
I mean, just the recent study they did with Stockton, California, and that Mayor Michael Tubbs, I think it is, or former mayor, I should say, $500 they gave in a pilot program to people, maintained other services, should make that clear, that were available to them. That extra $500 allowed them the opportunity to do things like get nice clothes to wear to a job interview, have like an address or have transportation to get to a job interview. It helped all of these people, find work and to get out of poverty. I mean, so it's it's interesting to me that I don't know that I've seen an era where the rights issue set is so narrow and they have to do so much lying on basic things to push their point. Like they've ceded so much territory that they have to tell outright lies about easily disprovable things.
And not only they've ceded territory, but their ideology hasn't panned out. The neoliberal economics and shrinking the social welfare state, I mean, like you guys were talking about earlier, it doesn't work. And the scratch the surface of his argument is completely bad faith, because he doesn't believe in eliminating poverty. He believes that there should be a class of people who work for $7 or $2.50 plus tips. And that, that's the way capitalism works. Sorry, buddy. And maybe one day you could be manager, and maybe not. And then, yeah, maybe you lose your home, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. And you didn't work hard enough. Maybe you had too many kids. Maybe you didn't have enough kids. I don't know. It's all your fault mostly. And that's the ideology. And so it's completely bad faith that they even want to eliminate poverty, which is very interesting because when this starts to work, you guys were talking about it earlier, we're going to see rubber hits the road. How much do billionaires and like even a lot of like Democratic donors, how much do they want to really help people? And how much here in California, we're shooting down gig economy legislation left and right to make sure there's just a solid class of precarious workers, that can actually never get things like healthcare and benefits and things like this. So
Yeah.
Subsidies are the big part of this relief package, right? Where you can they're fine with making that as bureaucratic as possible, but even cracking the door on allowing Medicare to be expanded to people that aren't necessarily eligible, that's not even in the conversation. Okay, we'll give out money to however many people we want. They'll put that right back into the economy. The donor class is fine with it. But then you start talking about, wow, we're going to actually have a single-payer healthcare system, give people a little bitty taste of what Medicare can provide and be expanded so easily for. That's not going to happen.
Matt, do you have something?
Yeah, like when Sam says Ben just ignores the empirical data about what giving money to people can do for poverty, this is what he replaces it with, the success sequence, which is degree, job, marriage, baby. So if we just follow that, you'll get out of poverty, folks. Never mind that pesky money.
That part and the pay for the degree part.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just, study hard enough to get a scholarship.
There you go.
And don't forget, pray hard enough, Matt.
Yeah. Don't ever forget prayer. Eat, Pray, Debt, I believe, is what the book was called.